Let's start on the top floor. Room 301. This was the world of Madison Mogan, Maddie, and Kaylee Goncalves. If you saw one, you saw the other. They were more than best friends. They were sisters by choice. They had grown up together in northern Idaho. They had shared every secret, every heartbreak, and every triumph. Kaylee was the fire, driven, outspoken, and ready to move to Texas to start a new job. Maddie was the light, kind, steady, and the girl everyone turned to when things got hard. On the second floor, there was Zana Kernodle. To know Zana was to know energy. She was a junior majoring in marketing, a girl who worked hard and loved harder. And that night, her boyfriend, Ethan Chapin, was staying over. Ethan was a triplet. He was a tall, easy-smiling kid who played sports and lived for his siblings. Think about that for a moment. 4 young people, 4 futures. They were in the golden hour of their lives. They believed they were safe. They believed the walls of that house could keep the world away. But 1122 King Road had a flaw. It was built into a hill. The front door was on the first floor, but the sliding glass door at the back led straight onto the second floor. It was an invitation. And on that Saturday night, someone was standing in the tree line behind the house, looking through those glass doors, waiting for the lights to go out. Let's talk about the car. A white 2015 Hyundai Elantra. Between 3:29 a.m. and 4:20 a.m., this car became a ghost in the streets of Moscow. It wasn't speeding. It wasn't drawing attention. It was circling. It passed 1122 King Road once, twice, 3 times. Imagine you are the driver. You are a PhD student. You study criminology. You understand how police think. You understand how DNA works. You've spent your life analyzing the why of murder. And now, you are sitting in the dark, watching a house full of sleeping students. At 4:04 a.m., the car is seen on camera again. This time, it doesn't leave. It parks. The driver gets out. He is wearing black from head to toe. A face mask covers everything but his eyes. He is carrying a K-bar knife, a heavy military-grade blade designed for one thing: lethality. He doesn't go to the front door. He knows the house. He knows the second-floor sliding door is likely unlocked. He climbs the small embankment. The grass is frozen, crunching under his boots, but the sound is swallowed by the wind. He slides the door open. He is inside. The air inside the house is warm. It smells like old pizza and laundry detergent. It's the smell of a home. He stands in the kitchen for a heartbeat. To his left, the stairs go down to the survivors. To his right, the stairs go up to Maddie and Kaylee. He turns right. He begins to climb. The third floor was the highest point of the house. It was tucked away, usually the quietest part of the building. Maddie's room was small, decorated with the memories of a college senior, photos of friends, string lights, the comforts of a girl about to graduate. Maddie and Kaylee were in the same bed. They had spent their lives together, and in their final moments, they were together still. We don't know if they woke up. We only know that the shadow entered the room at approximately 4:06 a.m. The attack was swift. It was silent. The K-bar knife, a weapon designed for the battlefields of World War II, left no room for survival. There was no scream that reached the neighbors. There was only the muffled sound of a struggle. Kaylee's dog, Murphy, was in the next room. He began to pace. He sensed the change in the air, the sudden metallic scent of blood, the heavy breathing of a stranger. But the door was shut. The intruder didn't stop for the dog. He turned, his boots heavy on the carpet, and headed back toward the stairs. He had finished on the 3rd floor, but his night was only halfway over. He began the descent to the 2nd level. As the killer reached the 2nd floor, the house wasn't as quiet as he expected. Zana Kernodle was awake. Forensic evidence later showed she had been on TikTok just minutes before. She had ordered food from Jack in the Box earlier that night. The bag was still on the counter. She was just a girl, late at night, in the safety of her boyfriend's arms. But then, a sound, a thud, from upstairs. Zana likely thought it was Kaylee playing with the dog. We know from the survivor's testimony that a voice was heard, a voice that said, "Someone is here." The intruder entered Zana's room. Ethan Chapin, a young man known for his kindness and his height, was the first to face him. There was no time to react. The shadow moved with a terrifying, practiced efficiency. Zana fought. The autopsy reports would later show defensive wounds on her hands. She tried to stop the blade. She was a fighter until the very last second. And then the voice, the same chilling, calm voice recorded by the survivor, whispered to her, "It's okay. I'm going to help you." It wasn't help. It was the end. Now, we must talk about the first floor. And the second survivor, Dylan. Imagine standing behind a door, just a few inches of wood separating you from a nightmare. Dylan opened her door 3 times that night. The first time, she thought she heard Kaylee playing with Murphy. The second time, she heard crying coming from Zana's room. The third time she opened the door, she saw him. He was walking toward her. A tall man, athletic but thin, dressed in all black. The mask covered his mouth and nose, but his eyes, she described them later as intense. They didn't look at her. He walked past her in a frozen shock phase, heading straight for the sliding glass door. Why didn't he see her, or why did he let her live? This is the question that keeps investigators up at night. Some believe he was in the zone, focused only on his exit. Others believe the lighting in the hallway kept her in the shadows. He slid the door open. He stepped out into the freezing Idaho night. He climbed into the white Hyundai, and he drove away. Inside the house, Dylan locked her door. She didn't call 911, not yet. Her brain, faced with a trauma too large to process, shut down. It was hysterical paralysis. She stayed in that room, in the dark, while her friends lay silent just a few feet away. While the town of Moscow mourned, the FBI was looking across the border into Pullman, Washington, just 10 miles away. They were looking for a car, and they found it. Registered to a PhD student at Washington State University named Brian Koberger. They tracked his phone. On the night of the murders, his phone went dark, turned off or put in airplane mode, right before the killings. It turned back on right after. But he had made a mistake. He had scouted the house 12 times in the months leading up to November. 12 times his phone had pinged the tower right next to 1122 King Road. And then, the final piece of the puzzle, the knife sheath. He had left it on Maddie's bed, a small leather sheath with a single snap. On that snap, investigators found a microscopic trace of touch DNA. Just enough. They followed him across the country to his parents' house in Pennsylvania. They watched him put his trash in the neighbor's bin wearing surgical gloves. They took that trash. They matched the DNA. The ghost finally had a face. In late 2023, the university made a decision. They demolished the house at 1122 King Road. They wanted to remove the Temple of Horror. They wanted to give the neighborhood back its peace. Today, if you visit that spot, there is nothing but an empty, flat piece of land. The hill is still there. The trees are still there. But the house is a memory. Brian Koberger's trial was set for 2025. The evidence was a mountain. The motive? We may never truly know. Some experts say it was the ultimate experiment for a criminology student. Others say it was a dark, personal obsession with the beauty and youth he couldn't have. But as the sun sets over the Palouse, we don't remember the killer. We remember Maddie. We remember Kaylee. We remember Zana and Ethan. They were young. They were loved. And in this long, quiet night, we leave them in the peace they deserved. Sleep well.